What's up, everyone? This is StoryHive on location in Vancouver with Vancity, Beats, Eats, and more! My name is Kazi, and we are broadcasting live on the unceded ancestral lands of the Musqueam, the Tsleil-Waututh, and Squamish First Nations, what is colonially known as Vancouver, BC, and what we like to call Vancity. If this is the first time you're tuning in on the show, we interview the creatives, the artists, the people who make the heartbeat of this city. And I'm so stoked to be here at VS Creative Labs. What's up? Today's guests are the powerhouse team behind VS Creative Lab, a vibrant arts and culture hub based in Vancouver that's making serious waves since launching in March of 2024, which was just last year. Happy anniversary. This space, co-founded by Dave, MJ, and PJ, has become a home for performers, artists, and cultural change makers. Through inclusive programming, live shows, workshops, and community-led events, VS Creative Lab is all about amplifying underrepresented voices and creating space for real connection and collaboration. From breakers to DJs, comedians to film and photography, they've welcomed it all, while also championing BIPOC creatives and cultural storytelling. Please welcome the inspiring team behind VS Creative Labs.
Yeah. What an intro. Did we write that? That was fantastic.
No. That was me and ChatGPT. We're like BFF, you know.
Crushing it.
Yeah. I'm like, I plug it in there. I'm like, make this a punchy intro, but don't go cheesy. I always have to tell, like, I'm training her not to be cheesy, and she's getting it.
What's the prompt that you usually use for that? It's like, because I find that sometimes when I use it, I'm like, make it casual, like as if you're a 40-year-old or whatever, like very specific. And I find that I'm like, okay, I can work with that.
Well, usually, and also maybe you could there you go. Usually I just tell her, like, rewrite this, condense this, and then I prompt her from there, like based on what she writes. Then I'm like, okay, tone it down on the cheese, or like pump up the swag, or, you know. So I give her her first run.
ChatGPT understands pump up the swag.
Yeah, like actually.
Wow, it truly is intelligent.
It truly is.
Wow.
I actually just, so I subscribe to the professional account now, or pro account, and they have this option now that makes Studio Ghibli-esque images. And so I've been putting photos and making myself an anime. And it's really hilarious and very accurate. I like how my pink hair looks in these images. Yeah.
Can we superimpose one of those right now? Like, we
like,
put those on screen right now? Or
and right there. I wish. That would be cool. But anyway, I'm so excited to have you guys on the show. Thank you for agreeing to want to sit down to share about your story. I told you not to get into this before we started because I wanted to save it for the show. But 15 years ago, the exact three of you, it was on my 21st birthday, you hosted my birthday party at the original place that you had called Box Studios.
Wow.
That was on Franklin?
And
Near Clark Drive, right?
Commercial, yeah.
Yeah.
Down the street.
Yeah.
And so it's so trippy. I was like trying to remember, I'm like, okay, I remember that. But then I'm like, when was the first time that I was here? And then I learned that it was the three of you behind this. And then I was like losing it because I was like, oh my gosh, this is a full circle moment. Yeah.
I think you,
That's crazy.
the second time, like when we actually reconnected, I think it was the Wild Thing.
DJ's
DJ
event.
thing. And then you were just at the front, you texted and you're like, I'm at the front. And I was like, okay. So I came up and I'm like,
It's you. That's it. Oh my gosh. So yeah, like, please tell us the origin story of this space. And what after 15 years.
You're the one who like kicked this whole thing.
Yeah.
I think we just we got married. So MJ, when we had the box, we started. We were both single, but there got engaged, got married. We had kids. PJ got married, got engaged, had kids.
Yeah.
And I think we're at a point now where we were like, okay, maybe it's time.
we always talked about
Yeah, we always talked about having a space again, and we started looking around. And then, my brother passed away, but he was a very big supporter of Asian arts, especially Filipino arts in Toronto. And he helped launch many artists kind of getting to that next level. So DJs, musicians, actors, comedians, And in Toronto, they have a food art kind of culture, right? So a lot of chefs,
Yes.
they kind of all got launched through his old bar space.
What was it called?
Cold Tea. So it's Cold Tea Toronto.
What?
The OG. Yeah.
Like
Cold
the
Tea.
one in Kensington
Yeah.
Market? That was your brother?
Yeah.
Stop. I had no idea.
Yeah, yeah. So you've been there.
When it first opened.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So that was like 12 years ago, probably. Yeah. Because they opened just around after we opened. So he was like 22. No, like Cold Tea opened like 2010, 9, 10 maybe.
Probably like 11
Yeah.
or something like that. Because I remember that. And I had very fond memories
Yeah.
going there.
We had the box, and then he opened Cold Tea like a year or two later.
Yeah, he was in talks of opening Cold Tea for like 3 years.
Yeah.
So they had basically had all these other spaces. They fell through, and finally they got their space. And so,
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, he
For
came to our
anyone who
space.
doesn't know, Cold Tea was a really cool, and still is there?
yeah, they have a
Question
new
mark? I don't know.
spot off Dufferin.
Yeah, so
close off Queen.
it's a speakeasy place that was in Kensington Market, and you would see like a security guard down the hall of like a, what do you call that? Like a a little strip mall.
Yeah.
And you're like, what is going on? And then you go through the door, and then it would be this really sweet bar and a patio.
Yeah.
Yeah, I loved going there.
Yeah, and then they developed the Sunday, basically the barbecue Sundays. It was Cindy's Day Off. So originally, they had this really nice lady who was a dim sum cart saleswoman.
Yeah.
And that's how you knew you found the bar. You'd look down this hallway, and you'd see this woman in a bow tie selling dim sum from her cart. And then if you look to the right, that was the entrance. And so they would call it Cindy's Day Off on Sundays. And they would bring in, every Sunday they bring in like the chefs from Mumafuku would come. And they would make barbecue, and they would get like live DJs, starting from scratch. It was like
Yes.
DJing there. And it just became like this thing in Toronto,
Yes.
Sunday day party. And now,
Iconic. People dancing on top of
yeah,
picnic
now they
tables.
have they turned it into that one that's like on the pier. So now it's like even bigger. Now they've moved it after he passed away. They've kind of done it off the pier, and it's a thing now. Sunday barbecues is a thing now, right? And it was
Yeah.
because kind of came out of that. So
I love
yeah,
that story. You mentioned the story. You told me the story a while ago when your brother came, and we were just started the box, and we were like, we don't really know what we're doing. We were looking for performance space, right? We were doing comedy shows, and every time we do it at a bar, it's like we're doing all the work, and the bar's just making a ton of money in drink sales. And so Dave was like, why don't we just find our own space? And so you were driving around in like random warehouse districts, and there was just a sign on it, and it was like $1 a square foot. Yeah, it was like $1 a square foot. And then you called me. It's like, hey, let's go look at this place. And we were like, yeah, let's do it. Let's go for it. We were super nervous the whole way through. But then I remember when the first time your brother showed up there and you were telling me, he was like, oh, you guys are doing it. You're making it. And we were just like, doing what? Making what? We don't know what you're talking about. But he just like believed in what we were doing from then on, and then went to start his bar and kind of used some of that mentality when he was starting his bar too as well. So yeah, he definitely has lived in our spaces for sure.
How long did Box Studio last for?
I think about 3 or 4 years. We had it from like 2008 to 2011.
Yeah.
And then that was when we got married. And I was like, well, can't work those days anymore. Because we would, because we were working crazy. Because we both worked day jobs.
Yeah.
And then I would work for this live show that was filming. So I was working on the crew on this show. And so on a Friday, I would work my job, get off at 2:33, drive out to the studio, shoot that show till 10. PJ setting up our studio, come in, we'd have an event there till breakfast.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Wake
Well,
up.
Well,
At
it didn't
that-
start. We
Replay.
wanted it to be like this, but
Yeah.
it didn't end up being like this, right?
It
Yeah.
was more like underground vibe, I felt.
Yeah.
And at that time, I was living in Toronto already, but I had spent the summer here. And it was like 21. I was like, it's like a debut all over again, kind of, right? And I wanted to have a birthday here that summer. And then Addie, shout outs to Addie.
Addie, ad lib.
Yeah, he introduced me to you guys and was like, how about this place? And I remember also being friends with, oh my gosh, Jay, who did the Wild Coyote Nights.
Yeah.
You know, and so like I remember for my birthday having the old school tickets, like people don't sell tickets like this anymore. Eventbrite, you know.
Oh
What
yeah.
was that company that did the ticket, that printed the ticket? What was that company that printed the ticket? Club Zone. The Club Zone tickets.
Club Zone ticket at a
Red,
Pepsi party.
Yeah. You
I
picked
got
the
to
color.
choose. I
And everyone
could've
had
chose
Club Zone
purple.
tickets. Yeah, so good.
I definitely have a keepsake of that anyways.
It's in a box somewhere.
You know, I honestly forgot all about that birthday until most recently getting ready for this interview and then realizing like, oh my gosh, like y'all held it down for me and I always appreciate that you hosted me. I'm so curious to know, like, now starting up a space again, what has inspired you 15 years later to do this again? And also, what are you doing differently now?
I think since we've had the box, or the box has been there, I feel like we always have talked about it. So I think we've always just been like,
A matter
we
of
just
time.
gotta find a time, like when the kids are older, or when we there's gotta be a time. And then last year we were just like, Dave was like, let's just do it. Like, let's just do it. And he found the space, and we just didn't know what to expect, similar to when you guys opened the box, and we kind of let it grow organically again.
Yeah, I think that's the kind of this magic, or like if you think of what's behind it, I always say you kind of just have to let it become whatever the city wants, whatever the community wants it to be. We're here, you know, our mandate is basically to cultivate diversity within the arts, to support BIPOC artists in the arts. But what that looks like is up to everybody else. So whatever they come with, we try not to say no. We try to say, okay, how do we raise the bar on that? How can we kind of elevate whatever you're doing so that mainstream media or mainstream people will see it and love it just like they love everything else? Like, how do you do that? And that's kind of like, so you really stress that. Everything we work on. Like, even PJ yesterday, he was saying he worked with these photographers who are great photographers, but pretty green, and PJ just guiding them through the process of like how to actually use a light and things like that. It just is amazing, right? Because now these people have more skills, and the next job they do, they're going to bring that to the table.
Because no one did it for us, right?
No.
When we opened the box, nobody else did that. It's like Dave just had the idea. We found a cheap spot. We kind of had nothing to lose. We're like in our 20s and, you know, like whatever. And so we just did it. And so, yeah, there's not that opportunity. People aren't really doing that here. And so when we opened this space, we wanted to focus on that, first of all. Because when we had the box, it was like, we just got to make rent. So it's like, you know, we're doing after hours, we're doing random parties, and it wasn't necessarily, it didn't end up becoming what we wanted it to. But with this space, we were really focused on, let's keep it an art space and not just kind of necessarily chase the money to stay open. And I'm glad that we did that, because every time someone came in here for the first time, that's the first thing that they would say. Can I have a party in here? Can I have a party in here? And we just like avoided it because we just wanted to concentrate it on being an artistic space. And it paid off, because that's the main people who are coming through here now, right, is artistic people. And the mandate is just to level up people, right? We haven't been in a studio for 10 years. We were talking about this the other day, and it's like, was that much really changed in 10 years? Not really. Okay, so how can we re-enter this environment and just like level up the bar? We found that like we brought in a teacher, Dave brought in a teacher from LA Groundlings teaching comedy. And it was like hard to get people to engage with that. And we were like, dude, a guy from LA from Groundlings, that's like a huge school. How can we level up? And I find that in Vancouver, a lot of times it's people are just doing it as a hobby, a lot of hobbyists. And we're like, no, there's talent here. There's a lot of people and there's amazing talent here. Let's just all raise the bar and get to that next level. And so that's what we've been all about, is how do we help people get to that next space, right?
Oh, there's so much in what you just said, because I feel like y'all entered a time that is so clutch in terms of like, you know, we've seen a lot of arts and cultural spaces come and go, and it's a struggle, a real struggle to stay afloat because of rent, because of the cost of rent, not just creative space, but also like housing and living here. It's a very expensive city to live in. And so for you to emerge during this time, and also with the fact that you've had 15 years, or, you know, since that party, but like a decade.
That party was what sparked it. Let me change everything. After that party, I realized
Set us on a trajectory.
I need to meet
I'm
up with
the
her once
seed.
again. I don't know how
That's
it's going to happen.
Yeah. But essentially from there, like y'all had like professional experience, real life experience, becoming parents, you know, and also just like financially not having to rely on this space as your income, but y'all having your own professional careers outside of this to then bring back and share with the community that's on the come up. Like I think it's so dope that you took that time and space and that you came back. You know, and I see the same thing with Relly. Shout outs to Relly / calling you out, Relly, because I want you on the show before the season ends. I've been wanting him. He's like, interviews. But anyways, like Relly is another example from Table Tutors of someone who like, you know, my clubbing kuya, older bro, DJing, and then when worked like construction jobs and stacked, and then like opened up a DJ school and is giving back to the community.
The legacy.
You know, we were neighbors when I was growing up.
Yeah.
We grew up together, Relly and I.
In Joyce?
I was one of his best men at his
You used
wedding.
to carry his crates.
I used to carry the crates and the records. Yeah, we go way back.
Wait, what hood
Back
did you
in
guys
North
grow
Van.
up in?
North Van.
Oh.
Yeah, Lower Lonsdale. We used to
Yeah.
hang at the, she was if Relly was here. We used to hang out at the neighborhood house every 3 days a week. You couldn't get us out there playing basketball.
That's amazing.
Yeah, Ronnie used to come by, and he was like spray painting the city.
Who's Ronnie? Ronnie who?
What's his DJ name? Oh, this is horrible on live TV.
It's fine.
I know Ronnie is Ronnie. Sorry, Ronnie. I don't know your. I don't know if I'm allowed to
He's
say.
like, I don't
'cause he's
want
got
you to
stuff
even
on
be
the city.
calling me by my government name.
Graffiti up there.
Yeah. What am I-
Yeah.
Just Ronnie.
Well, for all of you, where did you grow up?
We were in North Van.
North Van.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was born in St. Paul's, but then mostly grew up in North Van.
Yeah, I grew up in the middle of Lonsdale. I was born in South Africa, but I grew up in the middle of Lonsdale area. You were Lower Lonsdale. I was like middle of Lonsdale.
How about you?
Born in Calgary and then grew up in East Van for a bit and then Coquitlam.
Okay.
Yeah.
But still here.
Yeah.
Yes,
Reppin' Vancity now.
for sure.
Yeah. So what has been some of your most favorite things that you've seen come into this space, especially in the year?
Oh man.
A lot.
So much.
I think, like, you know, what what PJ and Dave were saying, we're kind of helping people level up. I think at the same time we're seeing things that are new to us and we're learning from other people too.
Ooh, like what?
And I think just, the talent, just seeing how
Even
people...
the martial arts. You took a martial arts class in here.
Yeah, there was like a Filipino martial arts thing.
Cali? Like with the stick fighting?
And it was like
Oh, that's
combined
sick.
with like coffee tasting
It was
and
like
just...
a coffee meditation, and then they turned into, now they were all jacked up on caffeine, and then they started fighting. It was like, and then he had like strobe lights going off
Yeah.
and stuff like that. It was
Great.
crazy.
What do you
Kevin
mean,
was that his name?
strobe
Kevin.
lights?
Chris, that's
Yeah.
right, Chris.
It was amazing.
It was crazy, yeah.
Yeah, and then, there's
The
like,
art show was amazing.
the Indios Bravos art
Yeah,
show was amazing.
that was like, we had 8 Filipino Canadian artists from all over the country represented. I've never
Yeah.
experienced something like that before.
That was amazing.
And to see how great the art was too, just like stuff like we hosted multiple art shows at the old studio, and to see what this has become, you're like, oh man, this is like
yeah.
pretty sick. And one of those artists was from Tondo, and like he created this piece that was just like representative of that area, and I was like, man, that's next level. So yeah, I think stuff like that totally blew my mind.
Yeah, because we're coming 10, 15 years out, and we're actually seeing what's happening now. It's amazing. It's great.
The dancing. The dancers have been cool. Like it started off being like a breakdancing session on the Tuesdays.
Yeah.
And
Shout
then
outs
now
to
it's-
J-Lo.
Yeah, shout out to you. Started that whole thing.
Yeah.
And then now it's kind of like all styles. And they did Southern Trap.
I heard about
session
this.
down here. That was
sounded
sick. It was
sick.
packed in here too. It was super
Yeah.
sick. So yeah, I don't think we expected that necessarily. We didn't expect dance because we come from sort of like stand-up comedy, so we were kind of going that route. And we haven't had any of that in here. Like a lot of more traditional artists. The art classes when we first opened, there was a lot of people teaching art classes in here. Yeah, like Dave said, we just kind of opened the doors and then just saw what happened, and people are like utilizing the space for pretty amazing things.
The musicians a couple of weeks ago.
Oh yeah,
We had these Fields Entertainment,
Oh, yeah.
and they brought in about 3 to 5 new up-and-coming artists, and they all played like original music. They were so talented. It was really nice, intimate, like private show. And so you kind of feel like you're part of something. You're like, man, I think this person blows up or whatever. Like I saw them live in like a studio with like 20 people, 30 people. Who's that? Femi? He was amazing.
Wow.
And even the film, what we did the filming for the news, Nigeria.
The Nigerian morning show.
Yeah.
Which apparently was like the morning
Hold
show
on,
in
pass him
Nigeria.
the mic. Yeah.
Yeah, you were. Well, I wasn't here for it, but it was like the morning show for Nigerian television, right? We just did it and didn't realize how big it was, and then talking to people from Nigeria, and they're like, "That's like the news show."
So they had to film
that's
in
like
here?
CNN, and they filmed it in here because they was like, one of MJ's clients does limbo, and so he's like, "Oh, we were gonna
Limbo for all?
Yeah.
Oh my God! No, this guy.
Yeah, get him on the show for sure.
I actually, he was booked for Winter Arts Fest.
Okay.
And Winter Arts Fest didn't pull through for February, but when I saw his videos, just on his website, man's going underneath a fire doing limbo.
Yeah.
I'm like, you're hired.
You're in.
You're in.
He had this whole if that went through, you would have been amazed. Like he had this light setup happening. Like he was very excited about it.
Oh my God.
Yeah, he was broadcasting live for Nigerian television, and Dave was saying like some of the other interviews that they had there was just like on their computer lighting.
Yeah.
But here we had like full lighting set. It looked like he was in a proper studio, and like you were stoked on it.
Cut the camera. PJ set up the camera, so we had like a 2-3 camera setup going, cutting from back and forth. It was really cool. It was really surreal. Because you're like, when you shoot something live, it's over. You're just like, well, we got 10 minutes and when it ends, whatever happens. And it was super fun. And we so many things happened on the fly. And it was just really a lot of adrenaline. And that was super cool because we shot it at like midnight. Because that was like, I don't know, whatever time it was in Nigeria, but it was like midnight. And even our PJ and I sat here for like 3 hours and tested out everything. So it worked. Figured out all the bugs. And then we went to their studio and like nothing worked, and I was like, "Well, just send them some audio because it's not working now."
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
But it turned out awesome.
But it turned out great. Yeah.
What are each of your creative backgrounds that you're bringing to VS Creative, and like what your roles within this space?
Well, Dave and I were actors. I dabbled in improv, but I was never overly good at it. But I enjoyed it, liked doing it, and sketch comedy. I don't think I was that great. And like doing sketch comedy, like growing up doing comedy and stuff like that. And then acting. I did a lot of film and television in Vancouver here. Yeah.
And then within the space, what do you do?
Oh, in the space, I'm
Yeah.
doing, I guess, a lot of the media, a lot of the camera work. Like Dave mentioned earlier, like we have multiple camera setups, and so I did a lot of the tech around that and setting that up. And I do a lot of like portraits and headshots in here, and so I've been kind of running that side. I usually do a lot of the setups of like the lighting, like the stage today and stuff, and how everything's set up. I usually do that stuff.
Which is why it looks like a vibe right now, thanks to y'all.
Leveling up, that's what we're all about. We want to level up in here.
He's amazing at it. Every time people come in, they're like, "Whoa, it looks different every time." My background is it's really just marketing,
Which is creative.
which is creative.
Super creative.
I like having ideas and kind of like having a space to be able to kind of do those ideas and people that are working with people that are interested in helping me with those ideas. Like when you guys had the box, I think the event that I liked the most was the frock swaps. So my friend Danielle and I would do clothing swaps.
I remember this.
And it started as a birthday party thing, and it was accidentally open. Like I made a Facebook event for it, and it was not a private event, which it should have been, but then people just started RSVPing, and I was like, I don't know who any of these people are, but I guess they're all swapping clothes.
That was like one of our best events.
Yeah, and so we had
it.
it the whole duration that we had the box. We always had like I think 2 or 3 a year, and that was really fun. And the art shows were really fun. Like, I think it's just fun to be able to have a space to just get creative. And there's a lot of times where you're working with not much, so you kind of are forced to think outside the box, which is really fun.
Outside the box.
Outside the box, but
Yes.
inside the space. Yeah.
I mostly just sweep the floors and take out the garbage.
Important, necessary, vital.
It's going to my roots. It's coming to the roots. But yeah, no, I also I try to bring in the people. Like, bring in the people to come see the space. I try to, like, look out there for people we want to work with and come in and try to get them to kind of feel the space and see what they can do. And that's kind of my thing. And I think it's kind of working.
It's
So,
working.
yeah.
I'm seeing on social media, there's always something going on here. I read my newsletters. I see the, yeah, they're great.
That's MJ's our
Yes.
newsletter. I know they're awesome.
I don't read everybody's newsletters, but yours are good. You know, they actually,
He's a good writer.
yeah, and the visuals that you choose and the highlights of what's happening or what's coming up, it's great. And it's showing me that things are popping, like things are happening here.
I think that's the hard thing is that there's so many, I think this is true for the whole city, is that there's so much talent that like, it's so hard to share that with people. Like, it's like, no, like really you should come because these artists are great. Like I felt that way about that Fields Entertainment show. Like these artists were amazing. Like, and I'm like,
Yeah, they all have like Spotify. Like you could.
yeah,
like,
they all have
download their
Spotify.
music.
Like if I didn't know they were from Vancouver, I wouldn't have been like, I was like, no, these guys are like professional. But just, I don't know what your experience is with the city as well, but it's like just getting people to come out and like support local artists and, kind of get outside your comfort zone. Like, try something new, like try going to a new event. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
it's great that we have different groups coming through the space, which is nice, but it's like, how do we get everyone that's using the space to come together at the same event? You know what I mean? Like, I think that's one of the goals that I'd like to have for this space.
Well, I think that's what's awesome about public space events.
Yes.
Because it exposes people just by people coming by upon happenstance.
Yeah.
You know, like that has been the success of Public Disco and previously
Yeah.
Vancouver Mural Fest and Winter Arts Fest is because it's just visually there. Everything that is from the underground, because a lot of people, their complaint is like, oh, I don't know what's going on, or that, a previous complaint would be that Vancouver feels so cliquey, it's hard to get in, it's hard to feel warmth, but it's just a matter of actually running into the right people that is on your frequency and that is like creating art or is doing the art that speaks to you most, and the number of times that I've met people either like, I used to do background work as well, and like, I met one of my old I also ran a studio space back in 2020. But I ran into my previous studio partner on set, and she was saying, her name's Mariana, shout out to Mariana. She was saying like, yeah, we just moved here from Europe and it's just so boring. Like, where's the parties? I'm like, you literally just met the perfect person. And then from there, she just started going to everything. And she was like, you were right. Like, you just needed to meet the one guy, Yes. And then boom, you realize like, actually there's so much going on. And Rami from Come Spin With Us, which actually I had come here for one of the DJ workshops that he hosted.
And the day you brought your dog, I can't remember.
Yes,
Yeah.
or my friend's dog.
Yeah.
Little Captain Kirk, who was giving love to everybody.
Yeah.
But yeah, he has been posting Vancouver Isn't Boring Anymore posts on the weekly out of his own accord because he is passionate about people knowing Vancouver isn't boring anymore.
Yeah, he's
and that there's so much going on now that like within the community, what I hear from people is like, oh, that's going on too. Like, oh, I'm so overwhelmed. So if anything, they're not going out because they're tired. At least within artists and creatives, Yeah.
I just want to speak on that. It's something we're finding too as well. Is I think there's a lot of people who have that like inner artist inside of them, but they're like afraid to bring it out. And as a result, they don't necessarily support the communities. But we've found so many artists when they come here, they kind of take a risk, they take a chance, and they come here and do something, and they don't realize that we're here to actually support them. Like they're almost shocked when we're lighting set up. They got the camera set up when they're doing their first art workshop they've ever done before. You know what I mean? And it's got like overhead angles, like it's done well to make them look good. And they're like, oh wow, I can actually do that. I can do this. And that's been a mandate for us, is like make artists, even though it's like closet artists, realize like, no, you can do this more, and we're going to help you make that happen more. Like Dave was saying, like the photographer yesterday, right? He came here, had no lights, no nothing, and I showed him all our lights and our specialty modifiers and things like that, and he was like, blew his mind, and he was like, oh, I'm sick. he left as he was taking the photos and he was leaving and he's like, these are the best photos I've ever taken. Like, he was just so stoked. And I'm like, that's exactly what I'm talking about, right? Giving people the tools so that artists that we all have inside of us, like, take a shot. We're here to support you to make that happen. We want you to make that happen. And I think a lot of times people think everyone's in their own bubble, that they don't think that there's actually people who are going to help them. They don't think people are going to actually like step up and like make them do good and believe in them. And so I think that's been the magic of this space, because people are always blown away when they come in here that, oh, wow, you're actually supporting us.
Yeah.
And I think it's true. Like, we did the hard work growing up. Yeah, like, exactly. You know, we went out and we auditioned, and I'd say the first like 3 or 4 gigs I ever booked, like they thought I was Mexican. You know, I had to play a Mexican, or thought I was Mexican, or they wouldn't hire me because I was too dangerous looking. But those are the things, you know, like we always strived in the end, you know, to be an amazing performer or a great actor or person who happens to be Filipino, and not just he's the Filipino actor on TV, you know, who's like exploiting his country by like doing crazy accents and talking about his grandma or, you know, his aunt all the time. We wanted to be like, yeah, and that's the thing we want to bring to the artists. You know, like this day, it's 2025. Like, you should be just recognized for being great, and not necessarily wherever you're from. But unfortunately, the world is the world, and that's why we're here, because we need to support those artists who want to get recognized at that level, at a professional level, or even beyond that.
I'd love to hear from all of you, actually, because, you know, to me, you're like Kuya and Ate generation for me. And you're seeing like the come up of Gen Z and Gen whatever comes after that. Like, what are you noticing in the time and climate that we're living in? Like, how these young creative people are being nurtured that maybe you didn't have growing up?
I feel like, I mean, when I look at like our kids and, you know, some of the younger people coming through the space, they're just taking risks, which is great. And they're kind of, they're already confident. Yeah, I feel like it's almost like, I could compare it with how I grew up, where it was like, you know, you didn't feel really supported.
Yeah, it felt more competitive.
Felt competitive. You kind of couldn't really talk about it because you're like, oh, well, I do this, but on the side, I do this. Yeah, I feel like they're more confident. Like,
and
they're
I think
really...
too, we're like parents, our parents were immigrants, right?
Yeah.
So we're like that next generation, and then our kids are the next generation.
Yeah.
So, you know, our parents just like struggled to get here. They were like, and they kind of saw that, you know, education is a way to move yourself up in kind of the ladder, economic ladder, financial ladder. And art, unfortunately, you know, in a lot of parts of the world, especially in Asia, like, it's not going to make you money, you know. In places like the Philippines, where I'm from, MJ's family's from, you know, from, it's like socially, you know, your parents are rich, so you become an actor, you know. Like, it's very hard to come from, like, nothing to become an actor in the Philippines. So they don't think of that as it's almost like an aristocrat-type lifestyle, an elite lifestyle to be in the arts or something. Whereas here, it's different. You know, art is embraced. You can be an artist.
It's an option now.
Yeah, and you see young artists coming up, and you're like, this is amazing, right? They're fearless. And I think, too, even the way they socialize, some people, you know, there is a way, it's like, you know, we make fun of the phone life and everyone's on the phone. But I think it's pretty cool the way these kids look at each other and the young people look at each other. They don't judge the way we used to judge, you know? Like, we had to, like, girls had to wear short thing, halter top, you know, all these, like, things. And, you know...
Not to say that still doesn't
It still does that, but it also, there's, like, girls that wear giant baggy sweaters, and they're the most beautiful people in the world. And people, I find that young people, they're looking for something else, you know? You know, they're saying that the nightclub scene is kind of dying in a way because of stuff like that. Because young people aren't looking to get gross and wasted every weekend and trying to have random hookups. They're actually trying to have regular interactions, social interactions with each other, which I think is cool because that does help flourish an art scene, right?
It's true.
Isn't an art scene isn't crazy when all the clubs are going crazy?
That's true,
You know?
because a lot of the, with this space, a lot of the events happening, they're like, some people want to have parties, but for the most part, it's like anytime it's an event, it's because it's a community building event. Like whatever it is that's coming through here, it's a community event. And so I think, what Dave was saying, where it's like people are just looking for interaction and connection, and maybe that's because of COVID. But yeah, a lot of some of the groups, like there was a group last week that was like, oh, we're kind of having a networking event because people don't know how to network.
Yeah.
And so I think there's ways to kind of, there are just ways to have events where it's now just like community building. A lot of the stuff coming through the space.
Yeah, I found that they don't really care about the details as much. I think especially in film and television, right? Like everything's more accessible for them now because everything's on the internet and they can just create things for YouTube or whatever. So they don't care as much about the lighting or all these different things. But we grew up watching, like, you didn't get it on TV unless you were on a like big budget show.
Yep.
Now there's YouTube and it doesn't really matter anymore. And so that's been impressive for me, is watching them just be like, oh, we don't have what we need, but who cares? Just do this, do that. Good enough, go. And they create some amazing art and you're like, that's not technically right at all, anything that you just did there. But I guess it looks okay. Like they don't really care about the details as much because the barriers have disappeared and they can just create whatever they want now, right? And that's been interesting.
This wouldn't be possible 10 years ago, 15 years ago at the box. Like we wouldn't be able to live stream something like this. We didn't have the equipment. The equipment was quite expensive. You couldn't film from your phone back then.
Literally, Sean and I were just talking about this on the way here about like, tell me as a kid that, watching TV, like one day there's going to be, the pull the cord up phone. It's going to have a screen on it and and a camera, and you're going to be able to broadcast live to everybody else who has one of these, and everybody else has one of these. That's like, my 7-year-old self would be like, what are you talking about? Like, can I 3-way call? Like, know?
Yeah. Beat it, beat it, beat up, up, beat it, beep, beat it. 3-way, you'd have some weird beeps when you called 3-way.
Or you're like, you hear it and you're like, get off the phone to your little brother who's like trying to listen in on your phone call.
That was me.
Oh my God.
Totally do that.
Okay, why VS Creative? Where did this name come from?
Yeah, I mean, it's birthed kind of originally, it was a sports term. So the Detroit Lions or the Detroit Tigers was maybe 5-10 years ago or longer. They were in a playoff hunt and they were an underdog. So they made these shirts saying Detroit versus everybody, right? And that was like a thing.
Yeah.
And then Toronto really adopted that. And Toronto used to come with shirts, Toronto versus everybody.
Because that's
you
actually
saw
true.
the shirt, right? And that came from Detroit. So my brother, he had the bar, and he wanted just versus. He's like, no, it's not that, it's us versus everybody. And that's kind of that term. So it's like us, meaning when you're out there and you're a struggling artist, and especially for us, we're like, minorities out there fighting your family history of like parents wanting to be lawyers, doctors, nurses, fighting for auditions when you go out there and you're like, my friends who are, colonials, they're getting 50 auditions a week and I get 5 a year.
Yeah. And you want me to be Mexican on the show.
Or even like we used to do commercials and they would never cast like 2 Asians dating in a commercial. Because like no one would watch that, or that's not, it's not believable, or that's not profitable, or they'd never put like me, a colored, with a Caucasian girl, because they're like, well, that's the dream is the opposite, so you don't put that together, so we're fighting to be like, no, but I can date whoever I want, I can be with whoever I want. And so it's kind of like that. It's like, really, when we meet in this room, when everyone does their work in this room, all the artists, all the creatives, it's them versus everybody until they see us, right? Until we can have spotlight on our own network or create our own films or have art shows at the Vancouver Art Gallery or Toronto Gallery, like that's it, right? So that's yeah. And Andres Miranda, he created the logo with my brother in Toronto, and he moved to Vancouver. So we were like, hey, dude, we called him up. We're like, and he's like, yeah, let's go for it. So he's on all the shirts. He's on everything.
He made the sign outside.
I love that. It's I thought this whole time was an acronym, and I was like, Vancouver something. Vancouver. And I couldn't figure it out.
Versus.
No.
We get that a lot. Like people kind of, what does it mean? What does it mean? That's just versus.
Yeah.
Just BS. And we played a lot of Street Fighter. Dave and I spent a lot of hours playing Street Fighter on his couch.
PJ was a legend.
So
there's
there's
a lore of PJ at North Van being the king of Circus.
Really? What?
Him and Bede, him and Kiprios. You know Kiprios? Shout out
yeah.
Kiprios.
Yeah.
So Bede and PJ were the kings of Circuit Circus, Street Fighter 2. And they would battle. They would just battle. You couldn't even get your quarters up on the board. They were just going at it every day.
Okay, quick answer. Who is your go-to character in Street Fighter?
It started off as Ryu, and then I went to Guile.
Okay.
I always chose Blanca because of his longer arm.
Blanca,
Dalsim, and Blanca for the electrocution.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Chun-Li.
I choose Chun-Li.
It's the only player I could finish the game with. There's a reverse catch you could do. She jumps backwards and then catches you in midair and then tosses you. And I finished the game once like that at Thunderbird Lanes. At the old the bowling lanes on 15th.
I never knew the combos. I was just that kid who would just be like, press everything until I could win.
I hate people like you.
He took your quarters. He took your quarters. PJ took your quarters.
But why? What, like, because if you lost against somebody who just mashed...
I wouldn't lose. I wouldn't lose against someone like that. It's just annoying to play.
Because, they weren't really playing.
They're not really playing. They're just button mashing it. I guess there's like a you don't know what's going to happen kind of element, but I don't know. It's ridiculous. Right?
I see it as my creative exploration and discovery. Like, if I tried this and then I figured out, it does that spinny thing with the leg, then I'll, figure out that combo again.
I don't want to take that away from you, but
Thank you.
know.
I just needed to say that.
Yeah.
The moves are on the board, just so you know. The moves are on the machine. It tells you what to do. It literally shows you all the moves on the board.
Really?
It depends on the machine. Some machines do.
Most machines do. It just tells you. There's a whole sheet on the bottom of the machine. Tells you
We're looking for an arcade.
We're trying to find one. Yeah.
So if you know anyone.
What do you mean?
You want an
that
OG.
has the OG
Original
Street
stand-up
Fighter.
Street Fighter in here. We can't find one. They're expensive.
If you have one or know somebody,
Yes.
please pass it along to VS.
Don't rip us off.
Yeah.
We're an art space. We don't have a whole lot of money.
You
Don't
donate
cheat.
it.
You donate it.
Donate it.
You donate it.
And now that you're becoming you are a non-for-profit,
Yep.
Yes.
you get a receipt of some sort?
Not yet.
Not-
Nope. You get a good feeling in your heart. You get a great feeling knowing that thing that was pissing off your wife is now helping generations create art.
It's legacy.
Level up, technically.
Level up. Mm-hmm. Oh my gosh. This has been an awesome conversation so
questions
far.
for you.
Yes, you do.
you do?
They hit me up being like, we've got activities, we've got questions, we want to play. So I'm like, let's go.
Okay, we have a game we want to play. We're going to read you
It's been 15 years, so let's see.
some facts, some true facts. So she knows everything about us.
I know nothing.
We're going to read you some true facts, and you have to guess who you think this fact is true about.
Okay.
Yeah, kind of like two truths and a lie, but they're all truths. Should have which truth is
whose
PJ's, MJ's, or Dave's? J's. Okay. Was a hula hoop champion. Who was that? PJ, MJ, or Dave?
I mean, I'm like, can y'all stand up right now and give me a little
These
hip
hips
action?
don't lie. Just tell you, these hips
Okay,
don't
ready,
lie.
go. Ready?
These hips don't lie. You just.
I think it's PJ.
You know, oddly enough, I don't know how to hula hoop at all. Like to this day, I can't keep a hula hoop up at all. It's not me.
Was it
was
you?
me.
Oh my god! I mean, you were gonna be my first guess, but I was like, is that obvious?
easy?
You know.
It was PNE, like back when I was a kid. I think it was Dairyland.
Wow.
I don't know, a long time ago. and I won the contest, and then I won again the next year.
Oh my gosh.
2 years.
What did you
Champion.
win?
I got sunglasses.
Wow.
Champ.
And I think it said like, they had a logo, it was like cool milk or something about milk or something.
Because it's Dairyland. Oh my
So good.
gosh, that's
a
so
good memory that you remember that. That's
Yeah.
Hey, I don't win.
Next one.
very
This is fun.
Once worked with famed singer and the Juno host.
Michael
this year.
Bublé?
Michael Bublé. Bubla? Bubla?
Bubble.
Michael Bublé.
You. Was
I
it
worked
you?
with Michael Bublé? I wish I did.
Was
I
it
did
you?
not.
No, I didn't work with Michael Bublé.
Bam!
It was you again?
Yes, Chuck E. Cheese.
Wait, what? Wait, sorry.
There's a story
For-
here.
Like in childhood you worked with, or teenagehood you worked with him.
So my brother Marlo and his now wife Michelle worked at Chuck E. Cheese, and they got me a job there.
Yeah.
So I worked in the, you redeem your tickets or whatever. And I had no idea until years later where we weren't working there anymore. But Michael Bublé worked there at the same time. And so he would be in the kitchen making pizzas, I think. That's what
But
it
you,
was.
but you didn't get to meet him or intersect
No
much?
idea. Had no idea.
They knew him, right?
They knew him, yeah.
Her brother and her sister-in-law. They're like, they don't.
So you probably ate one of the pizzas he made.
Probably. But I'm really good at skee ball. That's what I got.
Is it skeet ball?
Just so
or
you know,
skee-
another thing that MJ's good at.
Yeah.
Okay, next.
Okay.
Slash, I remember, I'm going to tell a Michael Bublé story, that one time I was at Metrotown, and I was like doing a double take at Club Monaco, and I was like, is that him? And then I like did a whole once around, like, but I was like, don't look like you're following him. And then I was like, okay, I'm pretty sure it's him, and I feel good enough about that. So then I was going up the escalator, and he totally booked seeing me, like seeing him. And then as I was going up the escalator, he looked at me, and then he gave me like a little charming wave, and I was
Nice.
a Bublé wave, and I was just like turned red. I was like, my mom was so stoked. Anyways.
Nice.
Moving on.
Okay. Once competed in a national square dancing championship.
These facts are amazing. Okay, you.
Nope.
Was it PJ?
Yeah. When I was younger, I was one of the very few colored kids in North Van, so all my friends were white.
Yeah.
And so they did square dancing, and so I went with them and competed nationally in the square dance competition. I think I might have been the only colored person there at the time.
What was
I
the
crushed
dance?
though. We came sixth.
Do
We
you
came sixth.
remember it? You have to remember
Well,
it.
it's square dancing. They just like call random things, and you just try and keep up, right, with whatever they're saying. It is an art. It is an art. It's not easy.
Well-
when you did it in like PE, and you're like, this is lame. When you get to that national level, it's a whole other
You're like
game.
switching
man.
partners,
Oh, dude.
you're going around in a circle.
Dude, your heads are like spinning. It's insane. An average person, there's no way they could compete.
So in the competition, they're just calling out the
Yeah, it's like
things.
different people call. Like each group, each like clan, is that what you call them in square dancing? Well, maybe. Anyway, like crew, like each crew, like we're all dressed in like
Yeah.
the same kind of outfits, but you have a caller from your team. And then so each team has their own caller, and you don't know the song, you don't know what they're gonna do, and you have to like adapt to it in that real time.
Interesting.
It's actually really challenging. It's really hard. Yeah. But yeah, I competed nationally. Came, I think, sixth. We came.
Wow.
Great.
Congrats. Now, if only-
Do-si-do.
If only there was a line dancing competition, Filipinos would slay. We already know.
Yes.
We already know. Okay,
You can
next.
do it. It's electric.
It's electric.
Was awarded a scholarship in musical theater.
It has to be you now.
It was me. By process of elimination.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was a singer once.
Sing us a line.
Huh?
Sing us a line.
Are we allowed to? Because we
Yeah.
gotta
I mean, you
gotta
could
pay SoCan fees. Or what's happening here?
If it's coming out of you singing it, I think it's
It
fine.
was from the musical Les Miserables.
Yes.
And I think it was I Dreamed a Dream, that's what I sang. I dreamed a dream in time gone by. Yeah. that's it.
That was the one line? That was the one line?
Oh, and the music of the night. I
Yeah.
did the music of the night. The power of the music of the night.
Wow.
That got me through first year of college. That money paid for all my books.
What did you take? Did you go into musical theater?
I ended up ended up in theater, in the end. But the bursary was I could use it anywhere at a university. So.
We were talking about your final that you did for theater the other day. We were talking about your final that you did for theater the other day when we were doing improv and comedy and stuff.
Yeah.
Dave had this amazing idea where we explored we were just talking about the other day. We explored characters and Dave kind of was the mastermind. And so we spent months. We'd go there every weekend, spend months creating these characters. And then we did improvised plays. We did one in the audience was on the balcony of a apartment.
The apartment.
Yeah, that was amazing. So the audience was on the balcony of the apartment, and it was kind of like a sitcom sort of vibe to it. So we were in the house, and you could see all of the rooms from the balcony. We mic'd the house, and so it was just real time soap opera. Yeah,
like a window. You know how you when you go to. I don't know. Maybe
That's
it's just me.
cool.
But you're walking downtown, you look through someone's window, and you're like, "Oh, what? Someone's having a fight in there? What's happening there?" So we did that. We got all the audience to come and sit on this giant kind of a deck, and then it had a glass window that would open and close, and then we closed the window, and then you were watching a living room, and we lit this living room, and it looked like an actual set, and people would come in and run scenes, and then we had this couple other actors. We asked this apartment behind us if we could borrow their balcony. And this couple would do scenes in between, commercial breaks. And they would do scenes behind, and they were mic'd too, so you could hear them arguing. And there was basically this couple who were kept breaking up and making up in between. So we just tell them, and everyone had a little earphone or something. We'd just say, "Okay, in this scene, you're gonna try this." Or it was basically wants. We just basically asked someone, "You want this from the other person? Try to get it. If you get it or not, whatever happens, but that's the scene. Everyone has something they want."
And we spent months workshopping and created these characters from nothing, and we spent months going through these huge backstories. So we always knew who we were, but we had no idea what we were doing until Dave would tell us literally right before we went on stage. He'd be like, "This is what you want. This is what you want. Go." And so we'd go with the background of our characters and then just make it up on the spot based on the history that only we knew. It was dope. Yeah. It was so dope.
Yeah, thanks. It was my thesis for my school.
I love that though.
But it was born on actually Catherine Weiss, who was my professor. She came up with. They used to do that show in the 80s and 90s in Granville Island. So it was a actual show people would come to, and that was kind of where that came about. And then I took one of her classes, and she kind of taught me that. And so I asked her if I could use that for my thesis, and she's like, "Yeah." And so we started doing. The first show was at the TELUS Theater at UBC, and then we kind of remounted it in different versions of it all over the city.
I love that. That's a really cool concept. It's making me think of school stuff too. We're just learning a lot about the frame in which you have experiences, and how you guys created a completely different frame within this house, and just it makes me think of what is that Hitchcock film where it is about the voyeur Window. Isn't it something Window?
No, I don't know.
You don't remember that?
No.
It was a Hitchcock film where this guy is in a wheelchair and he can't leave his house.
Oh, yeah.
And the whole thing is shot where it's seeing the back alley of the into another apartment, and he would just stare into the different windows and guess what's happening. Rear window, thank you. And then he thinks he witnessed a murder happen. And then that's, Hitchcock, right? That's where things.
There was this show in New York that I remember I wanted to see, where it was you drive up to an apartment.
Oh, cool.
And all the apartments were
mic'd. Yeah.
And you would just look through, and you just sit in your car watching the apartment, and you just watch little scenes that are going through. That's something I wanted to maybe do. Yeah.
Or Punch Drunk. Have you ever heard of Punch Drunk and the show Sleep No More? I mean, they just closed that show, but essentially it ran for almost 13 years or 12 years or something. But they took over a 5-story building, a former hotel, and they transformed every single floor. And the story was inspired by Martin Scorsese's Rebecca meets King Lear. Like it's
Cool.
tragedy and it's like scary. Like it's just like whoa. Anyways, and as the audience member, you get split up from your whoever you came with. Everyone's given a mask, and you're just told like keep your mask on and don't talk. And then you're given full range to explore 5 floors, and it gets darker and crazier as you go up on higher floors. But essentially, yeah, you're creating your own story in your head, and you're allowed to touch everything. You can, like, people were like investigating things, like trying to read newspaper articles. There's a candy shop, you could eat candy. I had an experience in that space where I was watching this whole scene with this girl, and she was having a moment with herself in the mirror, and then she looked like she became possessed. And then, like, while this scene was going on, I was like, of course, I'm curious kitty, right? Like, I'm like opening up drawers, I'm like trying to figure out things. And then I had come across the wardrobe and it was locked. And then she actually opened it in her scene and went through it. And then I looked at everyone, was like, and they're all like, go. And so I like went, and it took us down through another path and ended up in another like science lab situation. Wow. It was one of the coolest things. Yeah. It broke my like
Next
perception
level.
of like what is theater and dance, and like that everyone who was the audience that had masks on, and because the actors and dancers ignored us, it was like we were ghosts and witnessing their life and whatever was going on with them.
Where was that?
This was in New York City. Yeah. It was a production of Punch Drunk, and they do that kind of stuff, like immersive theater. Yeah. And some of the producers from that recently created a new show during COVID times, and that one is in a former bank on Wall Street, and that show's called Life and Trust.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. Yeah. Are you guys going to New York soon?
We try to go.
Would love to.
Yeah.
We went last year.
February, yeah.
Yeah, we
for
went
some
last year.
inspo.
Before we opened the space.
That's amazing.
I want some of the people to do creative stuff like that in here. Like find creative ways. We're always thinking about like where can we put cameras, or where can we put the stage? How can we make it different in here? You know, like switch it up. That's why we love that stuff.
Yeah.
If anyone wants to do anything crazy in here, please. Like
Don't
we
call
support it.
Call
Yeah. Let's do it.
And
Down.
what do you feel is like, I guess, your biggest dream or ambition or goal for this space?
Stay open.
Stay relevant.
Yeah. I think what I would love is like, because everyone who makes it in whatever industry they're in, they don't rep Vancouver anymore. It's like they go to LA or they go to New York, and it's like only people from Vancouver know they're from Vancouver. You know what I mean? They don't talk about it. They don't rep the city. And so that's a big thing for me, is like, let's rep Vancouver. And I want people who go to that next level, that go to LA and New York, have them say, oh, I started here. You know what I mean? And lots of people like that who got to that next level, and they, you know, shout out us and be like, hey, it started here because us 3 older starving artists trying to make something happen, they helped lift that person to the next level and just rep this city. That's a big thing for me.
That's a good goal.
I like that goal.
Yeah.
That's a good one. Yeah, I think staying relevant. Relevant.
Yeah, I think that when we were talking about that, in that same vein, is like,
Yeah.
can we create something that speaks to the people of Vancouver?
Yeah.
You know, we watch, you know, the way it is most all roads kind of lead through Toronto on the East Coast.
Or Montreal.
Or Montreal for, especially in the film and television. If, you know, CBC's out there, Bell's out there, Rogers is out there. That's kind of how it works. But could we make something that is Vancouver, that's like authentically Vancouver, that speaks to the multiculturalism, the beauty and the diversity of our people here, and the voices that we have? And I'm hoping maybe one day, even if it's not through this, that we get to see that. And maybe we just have a little, just something that
do
helps
with it.
get to that place. Yeah.
That's dope that you said that. I recently just saw some of my friends. I don't know if you've heard of the group Nada. Some of the girls have been on the show. They're a 5-piece hip hop R&B group, like bringing it back to like girl groups, you know. And their music,
way.
yeah, their music is so good. And a few of them actually just went to Beat Cave, which is like a music camp And they went to LA to connect with other artists. But there were a bunch of Canadian musicians, rappers, MCs, music producers that went. And, you know, it was like a weekend camp. They all collaborated, they made music, and then they performed and presented it. And just like seeing their stories online, one of the things that one of my best friends, Larissa, who is in NADA, amazing vocalist, also a community events organizer, she had posted her stories and then wrote this post where she was like, this camp was so amazing, but I'm just gonna be real, like the talent that pulled up and really showed out was from Canada. And she's saying the exact same thing as you, PJ, which is like, I'm so tired of people denying Vancity, like rep us, you know? There's like enough talent coming out of here, and that I think we're in, maybe it's like a new golden age era, you know, of talent emerging. Also that like there's so much of like the Black artist community that has been like, where are the Black people? And now they're coming together and more are moving here and really organizing, that it's creating a new demographic.
Yeah, even we had that Femi, who's, I think he's a Nigerian musician, and he came, and Michael, who runs the Fields Entertainment, the sound that came out of there was so authentic, and it was so good. And I was like, oh man, this is like good music. Yeah. It's so good, and they're representing themselves in music, and it's original, and they can't make that. Like, you can't fake it. They're just so authentic, and I just really love that now. We didn't have that when we were younger, right? We had groups that were kind of really just emulating LA or emulating New York, or even emulating Toronto to a certain point. But now the music is like, it's really it's at a different space. It's in a really great space, I think, especially for locals.
Yeah. I'm loving the diversity of voices that are emerging and expressions that are emerging, and that, like, you know, in a city like Toronto and Montreal that is so saturated and already has that establishedness, like, there's something to be said about a place that is still in development, you know, and being molded and crafted.
Yeah, like, I feel like we've been in development for years. Like, when we started, when we started, you know, 10, 15 years ago doing the box, like, that's what the mentality we had. But here we are 15 years later. It's like, we all know it's here and it's brewing, but like, let's just, like, how do we, you know, turn it? Yeah, how do you just like turn to that next level?
But what does that look like?
Yeah, that's, well, we don't know. I don't know what that looks like.
Yeah, for us back in the day, it was like, get your own show, like get on something, you know, because we always used to joke, like, there are no Canadian actors who live in Vancouver who are just like not in LA and whatever, just trying to be like. The most famous actor when we were growing up was Da Vinci from Da Vinci's Inquest. And does anyone know Da Vinci's name?
No,
his real name, like the dude's name in real life? No, but he had his own TV show. He was the star of the show. It was on CBC, and he was living in Vancouver. He's Canadian, but that was it. Like, that was the most. Like, you know, you got like guys like Jim Carrey, Seth Rogen, like, all roads lead through Hollywood. Like, they are all, you know, Ryan Reynolds. They're actors who all made it through LA and Hollywood and became stars. But there was nothing homegrown, right? And so that's the thing, is like, what can that happen? Is that possible? Nowadays, I mean, you have social media, you have other avenues where you can become popular, I guess, and get into the mainstream. And so maybe that's a way.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I feel like for me, that definition of, I guess, breaking out is actually, I was gonna say breaking in, but I'm like, that just sounded good. I don't even know what that means. But like,
breaking in.
You know,
Come on, man.
But what I mean by that is that, like, that this becomes the place that people come to. You know, like, because people go to Toronto, people go to Montreal, people go to LA, people go to New York. But like, for people to be like, I'm coming to Vancity, and also call it Vancity, okay? Reppin' all day. But like, that they're coming here and for something specific. And I saw little inklings of that with like Kristen, aka Catchflow, who threw Obsidian Jam. She also just threw, and like one of the new categories was the Afro Styles battle. And like that brought in talent from around the world. And it was like, I saw that. I had like a premonition type feeling, like that's so Raven moment where I was like, this is going to blow up. Like people are going to come here for that, you know? And so, yeah, breaking out, breaking in.
I like that. I remember in our old space, S.P. Williams. He was like the artist that he was fantastic. He has an art school now in town, I think. He went for he's a fantastic, great artist. But he was like just starting his art, and he went through school and he was studying, and he had his own studio where he was making art. But I remember when he left town, he's like, he went to Germany, I think, to Berlin, didn't he? And I remember him saying, I'm going there because that's where the art is. And that's exactly what you're talking about. For other people to say that about here. Vancouver's where the hype is. Vancouver's growing. We're on the grow. I feel that way. I'm from South Africa. I feel that way with the music industry in South Africa. And all this Afro beats, all this stuff coming out of South Africa. People going to South Africa to record their albums because that's where the talent is. The same thing. Can we do that here? In whatever field. I don't care what field it is in the arts. But people are coming here because this is where it's happening.
Yeah.
So I totally feel you on that for sure.
We'll be hosting the World Square Dancing.
Square dancing meets hula hooping.
We happen in
musical
here.
theater. First ever.
Get squared. In Van. Where do you get squared? Vancouver, of course. Where do you go for square dancing? You didn't know?
You didn't know?
This guy.
You hug a tree.
Peter Prinsloo, the first African
Go to this basement in this place
square
on Commercial
dancing
Drive.
champ.
Promenade.
He brought it from the depths. And now we are the number
raw,
one
so
square
real.
dancing nation. Watch out.
Represent.
Hip hop's dead. Square dancing's in.
Let's go.
Square dancing forever. Oh my gosh. Y'all, the hour is up. This
Oh,
is
wow.
been
It's
wild.
an hour already?
We didn't
I
even get to the
know.
photos or anything.
We didn't get into the photos.
We should do
We
some
did-
photos anyway.
We should do some photos. Let's do it.
Yes.
Let's do it
Sure.
real
Maybe
quick.
fade out as we're walking to the photo.
Yeah.
area.
Yeah.
Bring it to Kika.
Yeah. I mean, this has been amazing, y'all. I'm so stoked that we got to
Do I still?
hang. Yeah, I guess so.
Keep
I'm gonna walk backwards
Oh,
here.
I'm gonna get. Sorry.
We didn't even tour the space. It was just getting caught up in chat.
in the pictures.
We gotta do round two, I guess.
Wait, what happened to the microphone?
Sorry,
MJ
I
has
have it.
She's just bringing.
So,
Hot to did.
MJ, since you have the mic, show
Yes.
what is the space? Tell us about the space. Sorry.
Oh yeah, this is. You know, I feel like PJ should be talking about this because this is his space. This
Okay,
is like
PJ.
his photography.
No, go ahead, MJ. That's...
I don't know any of these.
This is a white sheet of paper backdrop.
Yeah.
This is white paper photography at Versus. We have white paper.
This is where we do the square dancing.
Looks good with the white contrast.
Oh my gosh.
With the flowery shoulder pads is what they wear in square dancing, like flowery.
Really?
Yeah. So anyway, we've got like paper walls here. This is white. We there's a photo shoot in here yesterday. So they were using the white. And we have gray and green. If you want to do a green screen, we've got green. And then we can put papers anywhere in here. We have like sort of movable walls that we can put paper wherever you want. So on Valentine's Day, we had 3 sets in here. And we had like 12 different models come in here, 5 different photographers, and we just did sessions for Valentine's Day. It was awesome. It was a lot of fun.
just shot Casillan before.
Yeah, Chris Casillan was just here doing some like live acoustic stuff.
Shout out Chris Casillan.
Shout out Chris Casillan. And then we're gonna do these sets. I think every 3 months. We have some people interested in helping us do the sets. In late May, I think. So we'll do it again. And there's lots going. We didn't talk about the space really at all.
So many things.
So many things.
So many things.
In here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, well,
Whatever you
maybe-
can imagine.
Maybe it's just like a brief, like, what are the things that already the space is kitted out to be able to host?
Okay, well, photography, obviously.
Podcasts ready. We have videos, interviews, art workshops,
Panel events.
a lot of mixers, like marketing mixers, social media mixers.
We've had book tours come by.
Oh yeah, that was really
Yeah,
good.
that was really
That was
fun.
actually a highlight.
That was a really good highlight, having the One Box book tour stop here in Vancouver. Yeah, it was great.
Art shows, the artists within Dios
Art
Art
shows.
shows. We've had music. Yeah, musicians coming in
performances.
there. We have a full setup.
Yeah,
so all the
theater
speakers,
setup.
the sound. We can hook up anything, anytime.
I'm trying to think, what else did we do? Yeah.
That's amazing, y'all.
Yeah, whatever
Slash-
you can think of.
That's it. Whatever you can get creative on and your imagination can go wild. This is the space. This is the place. It's located on Commercial Drive and 13th out here in Vancity, East Van. We're going to wrap the live stream, but we can do a little a little 1-2 photo shoot.
Yeah.
I guess live
Okay,
live photo shoot.
Look at that. Look at that.
Oh my gosh,
It's that easy. It's that easy. Yeehaw! This is how we start. Am I gonna get canceled for doing this voice? This is how we start. This. Get rid of those circles. We're about to get squared. We're about to get squared in this house.
Okay.
Don't cancel me.
We are going to wrap up this live stream. It's getting out of hand. It is so good. It has been an amazing opportunity.
Thank you so
to
much
just,
for
like,
having us. This is
have you guys
amazing.
for the last hour to talk, get to know you, to also just, shoot the sugar.
Yeah.
And have a great time.
Yeah. Come
I
on.
really
great.
appreciate all three of you. Very quickly, where can people find you on the internet to find out more about your space?
www.squaredancing.
Vancity Square Dancing.
Vancity, Vancouver is the home of square dancing.
They're so confused right now.
VSCreativeLab.com.
Or
VSCreativeLab.com or at VSCreativeLab on socials.
I
Instagram.
think Instagram's our main
It is
page,
the
right?
main,
Yeah,
yeah.
Instagram's probably the best place.
Yo, shout outs to everybody who tuned in on the live stream, who was watching the replay. We really appreciate you. My name is Kazi. This is MJ. This is PJ. This is Dave, VS Creative Labs. And you've been watching Vancity Beats, Eats, and more.